We are live in three, two, one. Instagram want to be laggy on us though. Instagram, what you doing? What's going on, folks? I am your host, Devontae Colonel, and welcome to another episode of the Inspired Challenge podcast. Today, we are joined with a couple of men to do well, as we might say. But let's be honest, we're joined by a couple of ballers with us right now. We got our man Evangelos in the house. We got Omar in the house. And if you remember each of them, we got into some great mindset type of discussions on the last episode. Omar gave us some really good talk about how his experience with students in the dojo and those practices of discipline meant so much to him. Evangelist told us about how his life changed around, how he kind of went from the restaurant and coming in over here, the Greek culture that he's a part of so much. So today we're going to be getting into an episode that features just some ideas that are to the effect of iron sharpening iron, resting, and just seeing, before we get into that, what's been going on with these gentlemen. So my boys, let's talk to the people. Tell them what's been going on since the last time I had each of you on. We can start at the end of the table.
Yeah, so since the last time we met, business has been booming. It's been a huge learning curve, which has been amazing, because the one thing that we really strive to do is make sure that anybody that we are servicing, working for, that we're going to give them the best of the best. That also means that we need to keep our iron sharp and keeping up with the times and keeping ourselves educated. So it's been really good. It's been amazing learning what's out there, so that we can bring better service to those and just give them the best.
Awesome. Love it, man.
So since last time we were here, a lot of things been going on, man. You know, like Omar was saying, just business-wise, physical-wise, iron sharpening iron. Like, quick story, me and my boy, we had a challenge to lose 30 pounds. Who was going to lose it first?
Oh, snap.
He was 260 going to 230, and I was 230 going to 200. And he beat me. He conquered the master, so to speak.
Oh, snap.
And just by a few pounds, but, you know, nonetheless, it was about each of us pushing each other. So he's down to 226 and I'm 203. But like, there were days he's like, man, I don't want to do this no more. I was like, dude, I feel you, bro. I was like, we got to. We committed to it. We just got to go. And we did, and it ended today. So
okay,
down 30 pounds in about 6 weeks, both of us.
Dang, that's what? That's crazy, man. Congrats.
I wish I could say the same.
And you know, so there was some interesting things when both of y'all walked in. You walked in Evangelos, and I thought to myself, is this man smaller, or is it the shirt he's wearing? Because I know that the way that shirts fit, but I'm like, and it is 30 pounds.
30 pounds, dude.
And then Omar came in. And I'm like, wait a second, did Omar start steroids or something?
No, let me tell you, I get that a lot. No, I did not. All I do is take creatine, which I'm also going to change up as well.
Really?
But no, I just consistent. I'm natty. Okay.
Hey, I do hear that creatine though puts in crazy work in terms of recovery, in terms of fuel, like creatine.
It does. So what I will tell you is, I used to do like pre-workout protein and things like that. I actually don't do protein shakes anymore.
Really?
Cut that out since last year, November, December.
Wow.
Same thing for pre-workout, because I do like the Daniel's fast to start the year. But even before that, I think in like November, December, totally cut out pre-workout. All I do every time I wake up, I take a eighth teaspoon of salt, boom, water, go to the gym, good to go. And then when I come back, I take my creatine. That's the only supplement that I take.
Wow. And then what does the food look like for you?
So that's the thing. Like, I'm eating cleaner now. I mean, before I just eat, I always eat whatever. Like, I'm working out to eat whatever I want. But at the same time, you know, you got to make sure you're disciplined in all areas of life, right? So I've been better at that. But then also what I realized is that creatine's very good for water retention. So I realized that is kind of holding back on the like physique part. So I'm going to a different one, see how that
Okay.
works, and then move forward from there. We're gonna test it out for like a month or so, and then but I feel like it's gonna be a good choice. Yeah.
Man, yeah, bro. You came because I was thinking about the last video we did, and I'm like, wait a second. I mean, you had the muscles going, but you came in today, and I'm like, hold on a second now.
Who is this guy?
I know what you looked like, what was it, 3 months ago, something like that?
Yeah, I know. And since then, I mean, it's been consistency. I mean, I know we're gonna be talking about this, but consistency is key. Just go, 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 and just don't stop. I mean, I'm the strongest I've ever been, mentally, physically. I'm sure Evangelos can say the same thing. We always, keep each other check. We went to the gym today. What are you doing? Oh, every time we end up talking to each other in the morning, one of us is working out.
Yeah.
And so that's also a good thing.
And with you, so you on the muscle gain, you on the fat loss, like what's been your like go-to thing as far as how have you achieved that?
So I recently did a 5-day fast, water, coffee, and tea. I lost 10 pounds in those 5 days. And then after that, I switched to carnivore diets, raw milk, eggs, cheeses, fats. And I've been eating twice a day in the morning, or let's say between 12:30 and 2 o'clock, I'll have my first meal, probably like 14, 16 ounces of meat. And then I'll eat again like at 7 o'clock if I'm hungry. If I'm not that hungry, I'll cut it down to like 10 or 12 ounces.
Okay.
But I eat twice a day, man. I have no inflammation in my body whatsoever, dude. Like all my joints feel great, no bloat. I used to have shoulder problems, just like nothing drastic, but like rotator cuff, inflammation, my infraspinatus and stuff's like always tight. And all that stuff's gone, dude.
Wow.
They're like from all
and I believe it too, because when you do take in more protein like that, and a lot of people, I think it's gotten away from the ethos of how we look at nutrition and recovery and whatnot. But the great thing about eating so much protein, steak, fish, is that the natural occurring creatinine inside of those things helps to replenish things so much more. And then, of course, elimination diet, you're gonna take out so many inflammatory things. And so, like, I noticed the same thing too. There were two things that have majorly increased my recovery when I was hitting the gym. Haven't been in about 2 weeks now.
We'll be back. Back.
Okay, this 30 days challenge has been taking its toll on me. But I will be back. But the things that helped with recovery the most was walking 10,000 or more, anywhere 10 to 20,000 steps outside, specifically making sure to get that sun and that sweat in.
Right.
It's been that, and then having just doggone 130 grams minimum of protein, especially when I'm the days where it's like pushing hard, bringing that up to like 160, 170 grams of protein. Of course. Man, that recovery is so much better.
So they say typically you need about 0.8 grams of protein per pound of body mass. So I've been getting around, like I'm sitting at 200 right now, so I've been getting around 180 to 200, give or take, and it's working for me. Eliminate all the processed bullshit. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to watch my language, but all the stuff like the big farm, like all the food is connected with big pharma. It's all disease. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they put junk in our food to make us sick so we can go to the doctor, and they make money off of that. It's a continuous evil cycle.
And it's crazy how specific you got to be. Me and my wife, I made her oatmeal and blueberries just this morning, and she got this crunchiness inside of it. And she Googled what that is. And it's like, okay, the crunchiness could either be the soil from the thing actually growing, because blueberries hang close to the ground. But the other thing is it could have been the pesticides that they were actually doing.
Yeah.
And I literally told him, like, honey, if we're trying to have, if we're trying to bring a little mini person up, I don't see no reason to be having pesticides like in the food. Like, and she plucked them all out, threw it all away.
Yeah.
And we won't be getting those blueberries no more.
Yeah.
It's crazy. The food joint.
They have ways, like I've seen many things. Like what I noticed is that there's some kind of wave. Maybe it's my algorithms, because algorithms will bring you whatever you're searching for. But I'm coming on a lot of things that are people talking about how to get away from how the government has been trying to push us when it comes to health, and getting more on the like holistic side, I guess you'll call it, and different ways to wash the fruits. Like they would put in vinegar, all kinds of things, just to really replenish like what it's supposed to be. Because when it's there, you never know what they're putting on that food, man, to meet the demand. Like, and then there's so many, they're now turning to a lot of lab grown things, like a lot of like fish farming is a huge thing right now, what I noticed. Just to meet that demand. And because they're doing so much fishing out coast, but then now they're running out. So now they got to do the farming, and you can only imagine like how they pump up these animals with like steroids and things like that just to meet demand. And I mean, there was this one that I saw recently talking about all these different fast food chains like Subway, Taco Bell. I mean, we already know like the fast food is like garbage, but even places like, say, Domino's, things like that, it just doesn't cross your mind. They have like grade F meat.
Grade F?
Grade F meat.
Oh, snap. I didn't know.
But you know what
I thought they were at least passing because it was government required.
Well, remember, it's FDA approved. FDA, trust me. It's like Evangelos said, they want us to be sick.
Dang, that's crazy. That's crazy, man. So both of y'all been doing your thing, killing it with the health. So we give a good little kudos to that. You know, we see men flourishing. We want to celebrate that. You know what I'm saying? So fellas, when it comes to so we're already kind of on it, right? I wanna take a look at real quick, as we've been talking about this iron sharpening iron. You guys call each other, and pretty much every time you talk in the morning, almost guaranteed that one of y'all is doing the gym, if not both of y'all. Is that something that happens just naturally? Like what are y'all normally even talking about in the morning? What's the purpose of that going on there?
Well, I mean, we're always touching base with each other, like what's going on today, because like again, we do work together. So anybody in our team, if it's like me, we're talking to other team members, we just want to say, okay, what's the day looking like? Because accountability is a big thing. You can be out there doing it on your own, but there's nothing better than having someone else to also hold you accountable, and you hold each other accountable. So when we do that, it's usually we do both wake up pretty early in the morning. That's like one of the disciplines that we have now. And it just so happens that we're at the gym. I mean, the gym for me is like, that's the best thing to do first thing in the morning, get it out of the way. Personally, I can't do the evenings, especially I would say like afternoon, especially since the kids are out of school.
Oh yeah.
Oh my gosh. I'm sorry, children. Well,
it's been
in high school.
Crazy the number of more teenagers, even middle schoolers that I've been seeing in the gyms, like depending on like that time now, especially now it's the summertime though.
And I do appreciate seeing it, not gonna lie. Some of them are freaks of nature. Like, let me tell you, I don't know what they're eating. But then it also becomes social hour. For someone that needs to get in, get out, it's better to just get in the morning, and then now you can focus on everything else. You know, because if you're going to be a highly efficient, you're going to make sure your time is used as most optimal as possible.
100%. And for you, Evangelos, like, man, getting into like that twist of the habits, because I know for each of you, what is you guys' wake up times when y'all get into it?
Between 5:30, 5 and 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, I would say the same thing. I have my alarm going off at 5:45, and then I have another one set for like another 15-20 minutes. So it's like I have to have a two-part wake up. My body's like, oh, time to wake up, and I'm like, no, it's not. And then we'll do it again.
Let me put this out there. So since I switched to the carnivore diet, I feel like I said, no bloat. I have energy through the roof, dude. Like this past week, I had my alarm set for like 6:30, 6:45. I woke up at 6:12, and I was like, I'm up. I'm not going back to sleep. I was like, I turned my alarms off, brush my teeth, put my clothes on, hit the gym. You know, so that's another thing. Like your energy just skyrockets when you don't have all that processed junk in your body, and
absolutely,
you know, just meat not even so much vegetables and fruit, because like Omar said, all the pesticides and crap that they put on it, to produce it for demand and whatnot, that's just more garbage going into your body. So straight meat, dude. Meat, eggs, dairy.
And to your point, like, so I know that there's a lot of like dislike around the idea of like going singular food group in there. I will say when it comes to like the carnivore diet and or even something that's just like the pure meat kind of thing, when I see like the ability to get in a certain amount of protein, it's something that can be challenging. So
For some, yeah.
by the time that you get in enough protein, you're gonna be full anyways, for one, because that stuff is filling. I have to fight myself to eat the chicken and to eat all the fish but the higher sources of protein that give you more space. So for example, something like a Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt, man, that thing right there, you get your 14 grams of protein or 12 grams, depending on like the kind that you get.
Right.
And yogurt has some of the most healthy as far as probiotics, prebiotics, things like that. So what I've also seen is that the larger of the protein source it actually is, the more nutrition that comes with it as well.
Absolutely.
So if you're getting something that's like 2-3 grams of protein, then you're going to get something that's probably not too nutrient dense.
Right.
And then, but if you're getting something that's doggone 25 grams of protein, for example, a good slab of fish, that thing is giving you the omega 3s, is giving you just a whole bunch of stuff that's good for your brain. And so as tough as the fight is, like it makes sense. Like you just go ham on that stuff and you just feel like, ready to conquer the world in it.
Yeah. And another thing, like you said, you get full, but you don't feel full at all. You eat until you're not hungry anymore and you stop eating. And then like, I just continue my day. Like, when you have those carbs or you eat a big, bowl of pasta or something like that, you're ready to crash, take a nap.
Yeah.
Dude, I eat, I clean my plate, I do my dishes, I'm back on the computer, I'm back on the laptop doing work, just moving like nothing happened. Like it takes me 10, 15 minutes to eat and then right back to work, dude. Don't skip a beat. Like I said, the mental clarity is there. My energy level is like super high, super focused. None of the, I've seen no bad effects of the carnivore diet on my body personally.
Right. I want to ask y'all too about this. This is something that I find takes a lot of time away from whether it's productivity, whether it's certain activities of exercise, or just like not giving me enough in between time. And that is the cook or preparation time for your food. What's that look like? And what are some ways that you feel that the prep time, cook time affects your workflow in total?
That's a good question. So what I would do is if I'm going to meal prep, I'll pick a day out of the week. Sorry, I'll pick a day out of the week.
Okay, so you do go the meal prep route.
Let's be honest, Omar.
I know, but like, so let's be honest. So if I were to do it, I would pick a day out of the week, whether it be like a Wednesday evening or a Sunday. Sundays, you always have the most. But the thing is, I used to do Sunday and cook, like when I was like heavy into it.
Right.
But you're cooking so much, and it does take hours. It can take hours out of the day. But then 100%. It's better to split it up because then you're not having to put away so many meals. And one thing that I do, I personally love cooking breakfast. So I would only do the like afternoon, evening meals, and then have that time to cook breakfast. It's almost like a therapeutic kind of thing. It's kind of going through those motions. And it's eggs too. I do like 4 eggs a day. I've been doing that now, religiously 4 eggs a day, whatever, bacon. But with the other meals, just do like a Wednesday, cook for the next like 2-3 days.
Okay.
And then keep it smaller.
So okay, so so instead of doing cook for the week, you do cook for 3 days at a time, 2 days at a time. Makes sense. And like you said, that space that it takes up in the fridge, I tried that for like a week, bro. And I'm like, I just don't have space for nothing. There's no space for like the doggone almond milk and no space for some vegetables or anything.
Exactly. So, and that's the one thing too, because at the same time, it's very easy to be that disciplined, but when you overcomplicate it, that's when it,
100%.
That's when you start losing it. So when you start breaking it up like little victories, that's how it makes it easier.
A big thing that I've seen is like sometimes if I just want to get like some quick grams of protein in when I was doing it, was literally going in the freezer, taking out 2 slabs of fish, not even de-thawing them. They're still frozen and everything, oiling up the pan, setting that thing on like a 7, and then seasoning the frozen fish, and then literally just cooking it as is. Put the aluminum foil over it to make it so that the steam can escape, and just letting it cook like that, 6 to 10-ish minutes, depending on how crispy I want that skin, and then flip it, let it cook for about 3 minutes on the skin, on the actual flesh side, and then flip it back over, give it like another minute, and then taking it off, eating that with some like goat cheese crumbles in it. Man, that thing, you just let it cook as you're like setting up the computer, setting up shop and whatnot. And then you get like, that's like 60 grams of protein in just with that piece right there.
Okay. Nice. That's nice.
So for me, what I do is I go buy a slab of meat from like a local butcher.
Okay.
10, 20, 30 pounds, whatever it is. It'll take me so the last one I did, it was about a 30 pounder, and it took me 2 hours to break it down. But I got like literally probably like 26 to 30 meals out of it. I freeze most of it, and I leave about, 4 or 6 meals in the fridge, 2 a day. So, it's like 3 days worth. And then cook time, like I like my steak rare, medium rare. So I'll throw it in the pan for 2 or 3 minutes each side and flip it 2 or 3 minutes, plate it.
Oh, snap. You too real for me, Evangelos.
And go, bro.
You got me kind of like...
That explains a lot, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, snap.
Barbarian style.
It's like Greek. No, that's good. I do know they have like a lot of meal prep places out there, which is really cool. It could be costly for some. I do recommend this one. They have this like subscription company called like Butcher Box or Good Chop. I personally like Good Chop.
Okay.
And with the amount of protein that I eat, I just get like the family size. One person. But what's so nice, one family. But what's so nice is one, I know that going to the store and buying meats can be one thing, but it's so nice to have it already selected for you.
It really is.
And I personally like supporting the local farms wherever they're getting it from, and I know that meat is going to be better. Well, I'm trusting that it is, and I believe so. So I actually would say this: when it comes to meat, Publix actually has the best grade.
Really?
The best grade meat.
Even over something like Sprouts or Dillon's or something like that?
Well, I mean, like the organic ones would be good as well, but like those kind of like supermarkets,
right?
Publix is going to be the best one that has the highest grade meat. Just to put that out there, wherever you guys shop. But yeah, it's always good to, I would say, if you do take it seriously and you can be disciplined enough to budget properly, budget your meals, I would say getting something that is like a Butcher Box or a Good Chop would be a good way to have that. You are going to have that protein there no matter what. Run out, so you can be more organized that way.
And it's portioned out for you as well. So
true.
You don't have to bust out the scale every time you go to cook a meal.
Are you using the scale right now, Evangelos, for all of your, like, I need to get, because they say, what is it? 4 grams of a protein source is typically, 4 ounces of a protein source is typically equivalent to what? About 25-ish grams of protein?
20 to 28, depending on what kind of meat it is.
True. Okay.
So chicken's 24. 4 ounces of chicken's 24 grams of protein. Steak's like 24, 28, something like that. Fish, depending on what type of fish it is. It's all around about 20 to 25.
Yeah.
Word.
Now I'm not like King Keto, who he brings his scale to the restaurant, but he's like, that's a whole nother level of it.
Bro, I'm about to get into it, bro.
Yeah,
I swear, I'm about to start carrying a food scale everywhere.
that's really nice.
Yes, sir.
So, but just to keep it, because I used to have like I've done like different meal plans and stuff before. Like I'm gonna do this amount, this amount. I keep it as, like I said, as simple as possible. So you don't have to think about it. 6 ounces of meat, whatever it is. Could be fish, could be chicken, could be steak, whatever. 6 ounces. I'll do like 50 to 75 grams of maybe rice.
Okay.
Maybe, but then in the morning, like I said, 4 eggs, bacon, whatever. So I've only been consistent with it. Maybe.
Are you doing pork bacon or pig bacon?
That's a good question. I think it's pig.
Oh,
I actually should be doing turkey bacon. So
that turkey bacon. I will say
like that. That's crazy.
I was lurking. Yeah, man. I know that the pig bacon is so good, bro. It's so good. I had some accidentally the other day, and my wife was like, "Honey, what are you doing eating that kind of bacon?" I'm like, "What you mean it's turkey bacon?" She's like, "No. How much flavor does it have?" I'm like,
"How much flavor does it have?"
It was delicious. It was especially delicious.
You know, I do eat. It's funny you mentioned turkey. I do turkey ground beef, like ground turkey.
That one, I think that's the most lean protein you can get,
really
right?
Is.
Man. I used to do ground turkey, and then I was like, "Ooh, I want that beef." Because
you gotta season that thing.
Yeah, you gotta season it super good.
Yeah, it's good to switch them up though. You never want to be stuck on one product forever.
For sure, have a good little rotation.
Different variety, different flavors, different spices. Mix it up so you don't get tired of it.
For sure. So I have an exercise I want to get into with you guys here. I have a couple of books that I have to grab real quick. So at this time, if you could just take this moment here, I will be listening as I step away to grab these things. But the prompt that I want to give you guys is, when it comes to the idea of iron sharpening iron, I would like for you guys each to recant of a time where, whether it's now or whether it's something that's happened recently, of how you and your closest guys help to sharpen iron, and one accountants for each of you. And then after that, I have a follow-up on it.
Awesome. All right. Go ahead. Yeah. So for me, I mean, I got one of my best friends, Sufrant, who we are always touching base, talking about business, and always keeping each other in check. I think when you are in a group of men, like best friends, and you are constantly talking about the same thing, like, birds of a feather flock together, it's the same concept. With him, we are always talking business. So whether it's his project, my project, we're always checking on each other, making sure that we are doing what we're supposed to do. And if I don't have people like him, people like Evangelos, that's when you become dull. So you need people like that in your life to keep you sharp and to keep you accountable, like I mentioned. And that's the only way that you're going to get better at what you're doing.
Absolutely. Yeah. For myself, like Omar has been a great help. Like, we're in the same business. We work together. And every day, like, he's like, "Yo, I got this connection," or "I talked to this person. I had this type of meeting." I'm like, "Bro," and like, I want those meetings. So we have those talks, and we're like, "Yo, like, how'd you get them? What inspired you to have that conversation with that person? Let's see. It's just something you got to look up to somebody, even though he's younger than me. You know what I'm saying? Like, age doesn't mean anything. Like, age,
right.
You're supposed to get more intelligent as you age, but that's not always the case. So, like, I have younger mentors, I have older mentors that keep me accountable. So I just use anybody, not anybody and everybody. Let me rephrase that. I use the people that are doing better than me because they've done it already. So I want to figure out how they're doing it, and I want to level up to their level. And, if you find something that works, just mimic it, just follow it. And, don't have to recreate the wheel. You don't have to start a business and go buy a business that's already making it, like. So pretty much me and Omar have these conversations on a daily, keep everything pretty much sharpened all the time, whether it's the gym, whether it's business.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
think that's a good point that you said earlier about what meeting did you get? Because that's another thing. Like we both want to make sure each other is better, and the only way that you're gonna learn or get to that level is continuously asking questions. So in our group of those who we work with, not only are we business partners, but we're friends at the same time, and we want to see each other win because it's gonna be it's gonna be good for everybody, you know. So that's a good point that you said there because that's the only. I mean, he has people I don't know, and I have people that he doesn't know, and then we both have different strengths. And now when you work together and collaborate, that's where the beauty comes right there. So
absolutely.
yeah.
So I want to take you guys as far as I want to get a rating from each of you. And so the question is now, based off of each of y'all's own response, how much do you think that your frequency of iron sharpening, of you guys being in contact, pouring into each other, checking in on what's going on, what is the rating of what's that now? Feel free to take a moment, consider it, and then write your number down. And then I'll have you each share your number and then why for that number.
So like on a scale from 1 to 10.
Yeah, sorry, yeah. 1 to 10, 10 being the best, 1 being the weakest. All right. Oh. All right. So let's start at the end of the table. So Omar, go ahead.
I mean, I put 8 down. There's always room for improvement. But there is more. We can always have conversations, but there's levels to it.
Okay.
Right. There's levels to it. So I know we're both growing in the industry and everything like that and what we do. But even, I mean, we're good on the personal level, checking each other on what we're doing personally, but we personally is good, but business and like it's us and a few others, business is at the forefront right now of what we're doing because we have goals and business is what's going to get us to those goals.
Okay.
So even though we do talk about business every time, it could be at a higher frequency in a sense to be more valuable, to reach those goals a little bit faster. We are moving fast, but we can get there faster. There's just different conversations to be had.
Okay.
In a sense, yeah.
And so going into that a little bit, when you say like of a higher frequency, something like a little bit even more valuable to like get there faster, in what way would you see that playing out? Like in a practical sense, what would that look like?
So we like to shoot the shit a lot.
Okay.
We should shoot the shit a lot. So we talk about business and then shoot the shit. It's like, it shouldn't be so 50-50, if not a little bit more, right? Because we like to joke around, which is great. Like that's the kind of environment that you need.
Right.
But and I mean, we do talk business, we do put a lot of things in play, but it is more so, I think actually is more so the mindset right now, because the kind of clientele that we are about to tap into is going to take a different mindset. Like we are prepared for it. It's going to be one of those things where you got to be in it to, really get into it. But I think there's more conversations to be had on that to really dive deep into it, or even just checking on how is our personal education going on our own industry, because he does his own studying. He does his own studying. I do my own studying, but we don't actually go over it as much as I think I should. And I'm like the leader in the group. So that's something that we're all working on, me and my other partner, Ian. So that's one thing for sure.
Okay.
To really dive into the mindset more.
Gotcha.
Of what we're about to do. Yeah.
That makes sense. And we can definitely come back into there, but I don't want you to lose what you maybe have in mind, Omar or Evangelos. So for you, what is your rating? And then why is your rating what it is?
So I wrote down a 10 off the top. Yeah, like Omar said, there always is room for growth. But like, this is my A1 right here. Like, you know my backstory. I came from South Carolina. I moved 500 miles away, so I had nobody down here.
Mm.
And I found this guy. We won't go into that story. Maybe another time.
Actually, I think you should.
If y'all haven't seen Evangelos' interview, go watch it. There's a section where he talks about him and Omar, the first time that they met, to die for.
Oh,
and I don't want to spoil anything, but let's just say you would not have seen where they are now,
right,
based off of their first meeting.
Yeah, those first few weeks I met Omar, I'm like, this guy, I don't like this guy. But then,
amazing.
Yeah, and then we took a trip out to Dallas, and I got to know him more, and I figured out we were more alike than we were different, and
practically the same skin tone. That's crazy.
And just the things that come to mind, like we'll be on a meeting and we're sitting here texting each other, and like we're both sending a message to each other. The same freaking idea pops in our head. I'm like, yo, I look at him, I'm like, are you serious right now? So I don't know. We just connected on a different level. And, we always keep each other sharp. Like it don't matter if it's 2 o'clock in the morning or, being up late at night or 5, 6 in the morning, waking up, and, we'll send text messages and whatnot. 4 o'clock in the afternoon, we're always figuring a way how to interact with each other to keep us sharp. Cause like, he's like, yo, I got this bomb ass meeting coming up. Coming up at 5 o'clock, and then he gets off the phone or off the meeting. I'm like, yo, what'd you talk about? Because I want to learn about it.
Yeah.
Because, like he said, he's a trainer in our group. He's one of my mentors because I came from restaurant business and the finances. And, he's been doing it a little bit longer than me. So there again, I'm looking up to somebody that's been in the industry, in the area a little bit longer, just continuously trying to sharpen my damn sword.
And for when it comes to the thing of y'all communicating and whatnot, you had mentioned how he'll be like, man, I just had this bomb ass interview. And I have noticed that too. Like when you text Omar is an excited texter. Like you can feel his energy through a text message. And so now I want to ask you, like, and this is going to be something to both of y'all, is when you are communicating with a brother and you are trying to go towards something mission minded, what is the difference of the different types of communication styles that you both have recognized, and how have you seen to be able to communicate most effectively to get towards the mission at hand?
I think the communication style is a little bit more direct. A little bit more mature because, like we said, we cut up and have fun all the time. But like, there's a task at hand, bro. How are we getting from point A to point B the fastest way? No detours. You might have a bump in the road. You might have a brick wall, but you're either going to go over it, through it, under it, or around it. And we just figure ways out. Brainstorming is a thing that we do a lot. I think we bounce ideas off of each other, and sometimes he'll throw an idea at me. I was like, dude, I didn't even think about that shit. And then, and vice versa. Cause like, I throw ideas at him. He's like, what in the world? He's like, where'd you come up with that? I was like, I don't know.
Who told you? But no, that's good. And then I appreciate that, by the way, about me and the way I am with texting. I just feel like, well, that's a genuine thing. Everybody's different on how they communicate. That's just genuinely how I am with everybody in a sense. But of course, when you're closer to someone, it's a little bit different. Like he said, like if business needs to be done, then it's straight to business. Like, and the thing is, you don't have to pre-frame it or anything like that. It's like, hey, we got this to do, let's go. Because the thing is, we're on the same mission. And everybody in our group is on the same mission. So as soon as business comes to play, we all know we're going this way. So like I said, being very direct, but I just feel like when you are in constant communication, whether it be him, whether it be maybe a new person coming on the team, whatever, the consistency in communication and the way you communicate is very important. Because it is a relation. When you're in a service style industry, it is relationship based, and relationship gotta come before money, like regardless of what it is. Because I could be the kind of trainer just to be like, hey, did you close that deal? Because I'm gonna get something off the top or whatever. Hey, let's make sure that goes through. Come on. instead of so worried about making sure he's better so he can do it for himself, so he can duplicate himself. That's where, for me personally, is where the real value is. When you're able to duplicate yourself, I want him to change his life or his family. And so I'm doing it for myself. I want it for him as well. And anybody else under me, I'm sure he wants the same for, whoever comes under him. So that for me is where it's very important, a relationship based. So that's why I communicate the way I am. That's why I am the way with you as soon as we met. For me, that's just really important. You never know who you're going to meet. Like, I mean, tell how we met. You just never know who you're going to meet and how it's going to blossom. Because I would have never known, seeing this guy walking through the office when we were working with that company, that we're going to be this close, working, making all these plans to do these big things, and like anybody that we met, So I kind of digress there. I got a little passionate about that one, but yeah.
Man.
And another thing, I want to piggyback off of that. So when you reach the next level, whatever level may be, like 5 steps, 10 steps, 100 steps, you always want to reach back and pull somebody up. Like, you're never going to be the top G. There's somebody, millionaires, billionaires, trillionaires, that have done it. You might not be the richest person in the world. You probably won't ever be the richest person in the world, but you got to strive to get there. And one other thing that resonates with me, you've never seen a billion or $1 trillion company built on one person. You have to have a massive team. You have to have communication, the back and forth. Like, sometimes I get a message, in the morning about business, and I'll respond to the, hey, good morning, Evangelos, what question it might be. And then I'll go straight to answering the question. Yeah. Forget the good morning, but then like,
Omar's like, man,
but then like I'll realize, like, I'm just like business oriented. I'm like, answer the question at hand. And then like 2 messages later, I'll be like, oh, good morning, by the way.
Yeah. I know exactly what you mean. That's something I think that has to do with my background coming up. Like, as you know, I used to teach and instruct and do all that stuff. Communication was one of the life skills that we taught. And it's really, communication is the one link between you and the next person, or the world as it is, especially with social media and everything. But it's very important there's times, like, it's funny you just say that, there's times where people will just start with a conversation like what's up, like what are you doing, or like what is this, and I'm like, hello to you too. Like, I will do that. I would actually force someone to be like, hi, like, how are you? I mean, that's just how I am. It's just how I am. I'm not going to change it, sorry, but I feel like there's a gateway to communication. It sets a tone. It sets a tone. So when you start with hello, good morning, how are you? Like, 'cause I remember when I used to work for the same like martial arts company, and me and whoever didn't see eye to eye, the communication wasn't there. It was always like business. How are you doing?
Yeah.
And then go on.
And that definitely kind of, and that's almost a segue into the next piece that I wanted to get into, because this has to do with a conflict-based iron sharpening. So when we look at the idea of iron sharpening iron, there is that thing of like them making each other sharper, but in that sharpness, there has to be friction of some sort. So there has to be some type of, I'm trying to go away, you're trying to go away. In this instance with iron sharpening iron, it is an intentional opposite direction. But I want to look at when it's not necessarily a intentional way, when there's a genuine misunderstanding in there. And you started to speak to it as far as that there's somewhat of a process in there. And it's not a process just for the sake of adding a step or for acting as like something that slows it down, but it's something to intentionally set the sort of the tone of what happens going forward. So with that in mind, the next prompt that I have that I would like to see is, think of an instance of where there was a time of conflict that you had either directly with each other or with someone just that you consider yourself to have a close relationship with, and the way that that issue had happened and the way that you worked it out, resolved it, and rate that.
And then the scale for this is 1 being
awful, 10 being I killed that thing. It worked out perfectly good. There was no misunderstanding afterwards. And there's like nothing I could have done to handle it better.
I learned to never give myself a 10. 9.9.
Oh, wow.
No, I did
Okay.
I did a 9. So just I keep going back to the way I've been brought up. I'm a very chill person, very lax. So it takes a lot for me to get to that other side. And even when I do get to the other side, like I keep in mind that one thing that I live by is if it's out of your control, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
And even if it's like a conflict with someone else, whether it be him or anything like that. I recently had one with a friend. Don't need to go over the story with that, but I was ready to put hands on this man.
Oh man,
this is one of my best friends.
So we got to be at it like a 5 right now. Maybe a 3.
But the way I handled it is different.
Okay.
So what goes on internally, I keep it there.
Okay.
As the most I can. Of course, human emotion is real, and you can only like hold so much. So you'll probably find someone else, talk it out, vent it out a little bit, get some mental clarity before you actually do something, because I do know what I'm capable of and I don't want to go that route. That's probably another thing as well. So I'm always more mindful of the actions I'm going to take, and also the words that are going to come out of my mouth as well. So I do give myself a 9 because I actually take the time, no matter how long it is, because I always know that there's a consequence to every action. I don't want to pop off on something and then be like, oh shit, like I can't really relinquish that relationship or fix whatever was broken unless it's going to take some time. So I take my time, think it through, what are going to be the best steps, and then communicate. Communication's key.
Man, and so you said 9.9.
I said 9.
9? Okay. So that's like an incredible score right there. Is that something that you were just, like you said, throughout your childhood, and you've just been in some of these places of discipline so much that you've always considered it, and so it's been a 9 consistently? Or
no, it's definitely been growth. Like, because I was let me see, when I was younger, I would say things without thinking about it. And then when you start to appreciate people's reactions and their feelings, then you kind of like, tailor it back. I also have the mindset of like your feelings, but at the same time, I'm like, the way to put it, with the way I am and wanting to, keep relationships strong, I always put their feelings in mind. I keep it in mind, how they're gonna react, So I know some people, like, I'm the kind of person where I don't allow people's reactions to mess with my own feelings, but not everybody is the same.
Yeah.
So I have to relate. If I have to, if my mentality is here and I just gotta like be more open to allow other people with mentality to see how they react, that's fine. I have that mental capacity to do so and navigate it that way, if that makes sense.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
And you said that's something that you've grown in throughout the year. So at a certain place you were weaker in some of it, and you had to see someone get hurt and then adjust to that a little bit going forward.
That, or also seeing how, a good way to put it is seeing how someone else treated other and how they reacted to that. And I'm like, I am not going to be that person. So like, say when I took a leadership position, when I was instructing, I always told myself, I'm not going to be the kind of director that is going to treat my staff a certain way. Like I depend on my staff. Like I can be a one-man show, but there's only so much I can do on my own for so long and not get burned out. So in the case of that, in any business environment where you have a team under you, managers, teachers, whatever, you have to know how to relate to them. If there is something that you need to approach them about, you need to understand that everybody speaks to people differently. Like how I'm going to talk to Evangelos won't be the same as I'm going to talk to someone else, because, and then that's something you got to learn. You got to get to know them and know what their where their buttons are, that you don't want to, you know, go too far, because then if you lose that person and they're like a value to your life, to your business, whatever, then, you know, what was the point?
Yeah.
You're going to look back and be like, what was the point? So that's another thing. I think where I got it is because, like I said, I've always been a very like calm person. That's always been the case. Of course, you learn how to control your emotions, you know, as you get older and more mature. But I believe that the mindset of knowing how to communicate with others and, you know, deal with those altercations is watching how someone else, you know, was with how they treated someone else. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah. There's wisdom in that. Learning from other people's mistakes instead of making them your own. Absolutely. Evangelos, how about you? I see you've even got some notes here, maybe?
I've been taking notes, man.
Okay.
Just things that are popping in my head to touch on. So, like, I wrote down a 7 because, like, I'm very non-confrontational.
Okay.
You know, and when I was younger, you know, and I just learned this the past, like, 2 years, 3 years, how to be calm, you know, and, like, something would blow up, something would just get under my skin, and I'm ready to react to it. But I take a step back, I take a deep breath, and I was like, all right, chill out, relax. Let's have a response to this and not a reaction. So another thing, you know, whether it's through a text message communicating, there can be a lot of stuff misconstrued. You can't pull emotion out of a text message. So how they said it, with the understanding of how they meant it and how you comprehended it. Did you really read that message the way they were intending to get it through to you? So it's a lot about perspective and perception. You know what I mean? Like, how did I see this? Like, you know, if there's a direct message, like sometimes I'm super direct. It's not because I'm an asshole, but I'm just like, down to the point, you know, but then there's other times you got to not so much fabricate it, but you got to put words in there to help them understand. You kind of like, you have to get in the other person's mind and understand the way that they think about things to better convey it to that person, to help them understand what you're actually trying to say. So I wrote down a few words like, you know, you got to have understanding and their perspective. And then respond, and respond instead of reacting. So like, these are the things I've learned, you know, like, I don't want to bring personal issues into it. You know, I don't want to, you know, name drop and stuff like that, but I've had a lot of instances in my past to where like, I was ready to like get down. Yeah. And I was like, chill, bro. I was like, what good is going to come of it? Like, what are the consequences, good and or bad? And I sat there and I thought for like 5 minutes. I was like, all right, forget about it. I was like, I can't do nothing about this certain situation right now. So I just cleared it out of my head and move on. You know, because one thing is when you lose control over a situation, you lose the power because you look crazy, you know? So like, if you're calm-minded and like somebody's, you know, trying to offend you or something, you just look at them and be like, are you done? And they'll be like, what? Like, you'll just throw them off their game and they just lose total control because you took that power away from them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Man, first, I mean, to be able to say, hey, a 7, man, because it's something that it's still a work. And from where I've come from, it's improvement, but I know there's still like, work to be done on it. You know, kudos to you for self-awareness. We always, you know, applaud that one on there. You know what I'm saying? So congrats on that growth in there. And then as far as the ways in which people understand something, I think that's a big point, right? Because people all the time can send something, and they might even send something with like a bit of humor or as a joke. Somebody receiving that doesn't understand like the person's sense of humor, and they take that and it's like, what do you mean? Have you guys ever found yourselves in a position where you receive something from someone through email or text message and you're like, I gotta call this person because the way that I'm reading this, ain't no way you talking to me like all that.
And that's the thing. I think that is when you take your time to analyze it, because you can be real quick to react, and your finger's gonna be flying, you know. But like Evangelos was saying, you gotta take your time. Like, is it gonna be worth it the way that you react? So it's always best, because my personal thing when it comes to text messages is that it can be taken out of context so easily. There's no tone, but you don't know the tone behind it. And it's so much better if it's something serious to have that conversation. A lot of people, especially nowadays in the social media game, and everybody's DMing and messaging, everybody puts all their major conversations through text. And that's just not the way to do it. Like, if it's that important, it needs to be over the phone. You need or face to face. You need to be able to read each other's mannerisms. You know, what's the tone of voice over the phone? You never know, right? Someone could be joking and someone could be totally in dismay. You just never know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
For the thing, so for collecting myself.
Get your thought together. Let me touch on that. While you get your thought together, let me touch on something
Go
else.
ahead.
Body language is a huge factor in how people speak, because they can be saying something, but their body language says something completely different. You know, like, you act surprised or you're genuinely interested in what somebody's talking about. You act like it, but your body language is like,
right.
You know what I mean? Or just looking off into space. So going back to what Omar said, when things can be taken out of context out of text, you know, if you have we do a lot of Zoom meetings. So like, you can sit there and see if somebody's genuinely interested, or if they're just looking around, not giving a flip, or, you know, whatever it may be. That has a lot to do with it as well, in my opinion. You know what I mean? Because like, I can feel people's energy. Like, I can, you know, you feel a certain type of energy from anybody and everybody.
Right.
And if you can sense that, whether it's good, it's bad, or it's neutral, if you can pick up on that, it will change a lot on how you see things. Pretty much, because like, you can read a person without them having to speak. So
absolutely. And then there is the next piece that I had here was, I was trying so hard to pick it back up and I just couldn't. So the next thing that I wanted to look at was the conversation that we've been having on rest now. So doing all this communicating, talking, like, that's stuff that stimulates. It's good. It's great. It stimulates growth. But as any person that exercises on a regular basis knows, that rest part is probably the most important part. You can kill yourself as much as you want. If you don't rest up your muscles, if you don't rest from any type of training, whether it's mental, physical, you don't give time for growth. And so I want to spend some time here in the rest portion and see with you guys. I would like for y'all to both write the top 3 most common things, not necessarily the best practices that you have, but the most common ways that you spend your time when it is time for rest, what you do with those. For those of you in the audience watching right now, feel free to also participate in this, right? This is something that I think could add direct value to you guys as well. So this is something now, as we look at this idea of rest, it's a beautiful Saturday here. I don't think there was no clouds in the skies or nothing like that, right? So we should have like a nice clear day here. So looks like you guys are both done. So starting from the inside of the table now, Evangelos, what are your 3 things that you do for rest?
This might not seem like it coming from a person like me, but I like to practice yoga, man.
Okay.
I was supposed to go this morning, but you know, we're here doing this podcast, and that's okay.
I appreciate that sacrifice, brother.
Yeah, namaste, right? So yoga is a big thing. Like, it has a lot to do with your mind and the body, but like, when you go into yoga, you're by yourself. You know, like, even when you're there in a group of people, like you breathe, you focus on your internal breathing, you focus on your mindset. Cause sometimes there's a lot of distraction in yoga class, if you know what I mean. But
people don't know that, man. I be trying to put, listen, I be trying to put my brothers on and let them know they need to get into dance classes, stretching classes.
But yeah.
We won't say no more on that.
Right. So let me digress from those distractions. But like just recently, again, like after I started the carnivore diet, I started becoming more aware of my thoughts and my thought process. So like when I'd go into yoga class, I'll close my eyes a good bit and, you know, just be there with myself. And, you know, what am I doing this for? Like, and when I'm doing certain poses and certain stretches, like actually breathe into it and feel the breath going to that certain muscle.
More of like you said, mind muscle connection type.
And going into that certain stretch, you know, like is your lower back hurting? Are your hips tight? You know, what do your hamstrings feel like? And then like when you're in those certain moves and holds, like breathe deeply and like just decompress. So that's one major thing. Like, call me gay, call me whatever you want, but I love my yoga. You know what I'm saying? Like, call it whatever you want to call it. But for me, that's just a pastime.
Okay.
I collect my thoughts. It's good for your body. It's hot yoga too, by the way.
Oh,
so you get that sweat in there. So like it makes it that much more mentally challenging. Cause like, you know, I think it's probably around 96, 98 degrees. I've done a couple classes in the hundreds, 102, 104. Those are brutal.
That's crazy.
Right. But so when you're in that yoga class and you're doing those poses, you like for me, my brain slows down. I'm like, I try and forget anything outside of the yoga studio. I don't care what's going on in the world, you know, bring yourself down, you know what I mean? And concentrate on you, because that's all we got at the end of the day. Your mind is what you got. Your body is what you got. And you have to focus on that. And it also brings a lot of rest because, you know, if nobody's ever done yoga before, there at the end of class, you just lay on the floor for like 2 to 4 or 5 minutes and you decompress, you take everything in that you just did. You understand the healing part of it, you know, and like it's a recovery aspect. So yoga is real big for me. Another thing I wrote down is read. I love reading.
Okay.
It's I read self-help books. I read entrepreneurial books, you know, real estate books, anything that stimulates the mind. But it's stimulating, but it's also decompressing at the same time because you're trying to focus on the subject that you're reading on, and it makes you think, but it makes you slow down and use your mind in a way that you normally wouldn't if you're just out in the world. Like if there's two sides of the mind, it's called system 1 and system 2. System 1 is getting in the car and driving. You don't have to think about it, right?
Right.
But if you have a math problem, 17 times 34, try and do it mentally. The answer doesn't come like that. You know what I mean? So that's system 2. You have to stop and think about, you know, 17 times 34. How are you going to break it down? Do it mentally. You know, we can all get a calculator and spit out the answer, but it's 2 different systems that you use when you're reading. And, you know, that just makes me think a whole lot more and decompress. And like, I'm trying to find better ways to understand the world, you know? So like, I'm kind of decompressing and stimulating at the same time. But, I just like reading, man. It calms me down, you know, cause you're sitting still. You're not going to go on a run and try and read a book at the same time. You know what I mean? So you got to have that calmness of mind. And another thing I wrote down is walking or jogging, or, you know, like if you feel some type of way, just go for a walk, dude. You know, if you feel stressed, like I like to walk around Lake Eola, like, you know, there's ducks, there's swans, there's, you know, the sound of the water coming from the fountains, there's traffic up and down the street. And that to me is just like, it's music to my ears, you know, and get away from all the typical music, the headbanging stuff, whatever type of music you're in, or, you know, all the, what's the word I'm looking for? Just all the distractions that are out there in the world. So like, sometimes I wear one ear pod. I'll never wear 2 ear pods when I'm
Yeah.
out in public because there could be a shooting.
Mm-hmm.
You're not aware of nothing. You're just walking around meandering. And you're the next target.
Yeah.
So I always got to have one ear open to the outside world and one ear listening to music if I do that. But walking, it calms your heart rate. And good.
And just for clarity, this is your top 3 things that you do the most common.
Mm-hmm.
Not necessarily your best practice, but your most common that you do.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
But yeah, those are the 3 things that help me refocus myself and recover. Those are my types of recovery. Somebody's recovery might be alcohol. It might be marijuana. It might be whatever it is. For me, those are my top 3.
Makes sense. Thank you for sharing that. And we'll be coming back to each of y'all's list as well afterwards. Omar, how about yours?
So my rest days can take it like I was thinking of it in different ways. When it comes to, say, working out, I used to do like straight 5 to 6 days and then rest 1. But now I've broken it up where I do like 3 days on, 1 day off, 2 days on, 1 day off. But I still go to the gym on my rest day. I just have an active rest day. So I do it like low intensity cardio. So I'll do like, I'm trying to get my 10,000 steps in daily and things like that. So that's something that I do for a rest. And I take that time. I used to listen to music, but now I listen to podcasts. So I take that time to learn, because for me, rest, I don't really have time to rest. Like I'm young. I got the most energy. Like I don't have time to rest. I rest when I close my eyes. So I need to constantly keep my mind sharp, keep my mind going. So I'm listening to a podcast. Either it's something that is within my industry to continue learning, continued education, or it's something that is going to be building me as a man, as a human, as like the mindset and everything like that. Because a lot of the stuff that I listen to is really telling the person how much of a piece of shit they are. I'm like, yeah, tell me, like, let's go. Like, I want to hear this so I can get better, because that's how we are as men, at least, that we're constantly like putting each other down to build each other up, as much of an oxymoron that is. But reading is another thing as well. But what I hate reading. Oh my God. Like growing up, I hated reading. Like I would read for school, whatever, but now what I've found is I find reading in my industry. Like I want to continue to stay on top of what I'm doing. And I do that in my free time. I just, if I have like this new thing to learn, whether it be like what we're doing right now, different tax strategies, whatever it is, I just want, because there's so much information out there. I have to actually play catch up. In my mind, I'm playing catch up right now. There's a lot of people that have been in the industry for 20, 30, 40 years. And sure, I mean, I've learned a lot in the past, even just few months, but there's so much more to learn out there. If I'm going to continue to grow and continue hitting these goals, I need to take that rest time to continue growing. That makes sense. And then, like I mentioned, so what it is for me is, I guess you can throw in like an active rest day for me, like walking. Okay. I probably throw some abs in there, but reading and then podcasts for me. Okay. So that's like my me time to dial in. Probably have it's on my phone, by like not answering any messages or anything like that, just dialing in. And I've actually been praying a lot more. Really? Yeah, it's interesting. I just have so much more things to pray about. That's something that's happened recently. Like usually it'll just be like, actually be very sporadic at one point. But then I've been finding a new, like getting in touch with that in a new way. And it's really changed my life recently. Don't know what it is. One of those things where you can't explain it. It's something you got to experience. You know what I mean? Yeah. But there'll just be random days where I'm just like, all right, I'm just going to kneel down and pray real quick. Let me pray on what is going on in my mind right now. Yeah. And it's just continuous mental clarity. It's actually crazy what it's doing.
Yeah. I know that, I think the last time that we were on a show together, you mentioned that you took some time to meditate, and that was a thing that you did. Am I getting that right? No. I could be confusing.
Could be confused with something. Okay. Because meditation, me sitting down with my thoughts, That's why I pray. That's why I talk it out. I need someone else there with me. Because me just into my thoughts, I'll just be like, I'll get bored.
Oh
I'll
man,
get
that's
bored of
funny.
my own thoughts. Because
Okay.
I always need to be doing something. Like I am so hyper. Like even energy drinks for me do nothing for me because I'm already hyped as hell. So I gotta like constantly be moving. So even sitting down and reading, like what I do is put high frequency music in the background. That it literally when I do that, I'm all of a sudden dialed in. I feel like my pupils like dilate. Like I've taken the what's that pill with the movie with what's his name?
I know what you're thinking
what
of, and then
about,
it's
gosh, Limitless. That movie Limitless. When I take the thing and just like and you just able to take in all the information. But it's things like that I realize because my brain is always all over the place. Put on some high frequency music and just dial in on what I need to learn. Yeah.
And another thing I could definitely see it being is that because of the capacity that you operate in as like a guide, a teacher, and what's the technical word? Director, right? Yeah. Where you're always like either giving onto someone or pouring out in some way. That's like your place where you can kind of just surrender that like element and just be like, all right, what's going on, God? Here's what's going on, man. You talk to me, you tell me what's up with this. And then that's just like your place to bear that out.
I think it's like a check-in, like when you have a trainer and you're constantly checking in. That's what I'm doing now. It's like there's no cookie cutter way on how you walk through life, how you walk through faith. Everybody has their own. And that's what's been working for me. And it's really good because I know there's no end game to it. It's a constant journey. And that's just something recently that's been really working for me. And it helps me in my relationships with friends. I'm able to communicate better in a sense because it's just all this mental clarity. It's different. I don't really know how to explain it. It's something that you had experienced yourself.
100%.
But that's something that it just dawned on me. You know what? Let me just communicate with him more. It's been good.
So now with you guys having explained your three, and so just to reiterate really quickly, and let me see about if I want to make a little bubble here. So for you, Evangelos, your three things, could you list them again?
Yoga, reading, and walking.
Yoga, reading, and walking. Okay, so if you could now begin to rate from 1 to 10 how good of a job these activities do at giving you that sense of rest and replenishment. From 1 to 10, rate each of them. And then your three were, Omar?
For me, it's so funny to say rest and replenishment because it's not so much rest, it's more replenishment, I guess. Because my brain, like, it just has to continue to go. Like, for me, when I close my eyes to sleep, I'm not sleeping. My brain is firing. I mean, I think that's just something that happens. Well, my brain is just going, and it just so happens that's when all the ideas want to come out.
Right.
When you're trying to put your head to rest. But it's really just replenishment for me. So of course, I said like active rest day would be the walking. It's like an incline workout. The podcasts that I listen to, and then the reading, of course. But a reading is for knowledge. So I don't know when I rest, man. I really don't. That's actually, what's so funny? Resting was actually one of the hardest things that I had to get used to growing up. Because like I mentioned on the first podcast, when I grew up when I was an instructor working 6 to 7 days a week for almost 10 years straight when I was 17 to 27. And with that mindset, when you're constantly working, you never rest. Like across those 10 years, besides like family trips you had to take for maybe a wedding or so, I only took 2 vacations over those 10-year period.
So man.
That like right now, the way things are going, things are getting better. It actually took energy for me to take a vacation.
I can believe that.
Like, I don't know, just like a workaholic kind of thing or whatever, or just like, I don't know what it is, but it's something like that was such a major part of my life, 10 years of my life when I was teaching, that is something I had to unlearn. It became a habit that you're not going to rest. You're just going to go.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably something that why I say it like I do is something I'm still working on.
So I have for Evangelos, yoga, reading, walking, and for Omar, podcast listening, active rest, and prayer.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I would like to invite you, go ahead and rate. I mean, feel free if you would say it's like a 3-4 of what it does to as far as like replenishing you and giving you a sense of like
rest
being ready.
Yeah, I don't know how much rest will be a 1. But for replenishment, I would say like right now the podcast, or I would say like a 7, because I would say 6-7, because there's one thing about listening and one thing about taking action on it. So I might constantly listening, but I can take more action on what I'm hearing, which is like a process. So I'll say a 6 or 7.
Okay. Yeah. So a 6 or 7 for active listening to something you can implement.
Yeah.
And then active rest is that's a
rest
1
for me.
So
Is I would say physically for the like working out and everything, I would give it like an 8. Like 8, 9, because that's when I'm not going, because at one time, Evangelos knows, I was lifting so consistently, so heavy, especially with legs. I did 2 leg days a week, to the point where I couldn't walk on my right leg. Like I thought I actually pulled my tendon.
Yikes.
So I had to totally stop leg day for like a few months.
Yep.
That's when I was like, okay, you can't be doing that like that. So the active rest day, actually, I'll give like an 8 or 9, because then I'm good to go. My body's still in motion.
Yeah. And then from the like mental standpoint, the active rest. So I guess just as far as giving you that sense of like calmness and tranquility.
Yeah, because I would say we try to do 75 hard. I'm sure I can do it, but mentally, I'm such a like go, like lift as heavy as you can, like, and to do that twice a day, oh my gosh! And then 45 minutes of cardio. I hate cardio. Like I couldn't do that for that long. So like, it's so funny you say that, because that does give me, because I've put on those days I'm only gonna do like an ab session or cardio session and nothing else. No, not touching any weights. So making that rule, it does let me calm down.
Okay. Sure, yeah. 70. And you said there's like a 70% rule
for
how, as far as how hard you got. Was that what that was?
The 75 hard?
75 hard.
So 75 hard is this like one, I guess you'll call it like a program. Andy Frisella. He made it. So it's what it is 75 days of like, you don't take a break. You have to do 2 workouts a day. You have to stick to a diet. You have to drink water. You got to read his book or whatever it is. But the thing is, for me, like everything else was good. The working out is what killed me, because I tried to do the 2 days. And when I went back the second day, I'm like, my muscles are about to explode, because I don't know how to take it easy.
The Russians have an idea when it comes to training. This was something that I saw a little while ago. And it's that as Americans, our idea when it comes to exercise is blow it out of the water 150%, like make it to where you're sore for the next couple of days. That's how you know you got it good, and do that 2 to 3 times a week. And then the version for the Russians is they do full body on everything. They do everything every single day, 7 days a week, but they go at about 70% constantly. And so that lets them do 7 days a week. And then, if you were to do like the math on it, if you're putting in 100% or 150% 3 times a week, you're getting like 350%. Or no, you're getting, what is that, 450, versus if you do 70% 70 times, you're getting 490% worse of work done. And so just from like even though it's less on a daily basis, the total cumulative amount just from getting more reps in ends up being something. So I heard that, and I was like, huh.
And that's funny you say that, because now I'm thinking of times when you would go so hard. Like anybody that does a workout routine, they usually don't stick with it, or like a strict diet, they don't stick with it, because that's what it was. It was so strict.
Yeah.
And now you're just like, oh man, I'm finally done. Like, let me get back to a normal life. When take that 70% mindset, or something where I'm not going to just kill like over and over. I'm going to come up with a regimen that I can stick to. Same thing like diet. Don't overkill. Get something that you can, actually enjoy, and then you'll do it for the long term instead of, trying to get shredded right now. Just be shredded for life and just take your time. Don't be on it's not a sprint, it's a marathon.
Yeah. 100%. So, and then that prayer piece, what would you rate that as far as the role that it has, or the number that you would assign it?
I mean, I'm like working on getting better at it in a sense. So I would say, no, I answer your question. So
yeah,
I would say like an 8, 9.
Okay.
9. I mean, it really should be a 10. I mean, yeah, it really should be a 10. But that's why I said like working on it, being more efficient with it in a sense, because I could just keep praying about the same thing or just like random conversation, but it could be more intentional.
Okay.
I would say. So I was like an 8, 9.
So, and just to recount, so the podcast listening you have right now as about a 6, was it a 5 or 6, right?
6, 7. Yeah.
6, 7. Okay. The active rest, you put that as far as how it feels for the body, it is like a good like 8 that you feel for that. And then the prayer right now, you say it's at like a 8, 9, and it could be a 10.
Yeah. If I'm more intentional with it, be closer to a 10.
Got you. Okay. Awesome. And then for you, Evangelos, what would you put your ratings of how these things do as far as making you feel rested and replenished?
So for yoga, I put down a 9. I didn't put a 10 because it is a little bit taxing on the body. And, you still do have to use your mind to obviously hold the poses and whatnot. But it's a big replenisher for me, yoga, because again, like I said earlier, you slow everything down, so like you have to get in tune with your body, those little muscle tendons and those muscle fibers you're trying to control. So like you have to be aware of that, and then understand like sometimes you want to do, stretch maybe an extra inch or 2, but you can't, because you're restricted. So you got to learn how to be able to breathe into that. You know what I mean? And just open up and lengthen the muscles and just open up, your heart to believing in yourself that you can do it. So like that's replenishing for me because, I know I can do more. There are some obstacles in the way of doing it, but you can overcome it, so that makes me feel more confident in what I'm doing and how I can get there. So it's replenishing to me because like, I know I can do better. So I should do better and I will do better.
Love it. Love it. And then we have read for number 2.
Reading, it's a number 8. Like I like to read, but you stimulate your mind again. But, most of the time I read, I'm either laying on my bed or sitting in a chair, and I'm just like, body's totally relaxed. You're stimulating your mind, but, you're laying down, you're on a flat surface, you're cool, you're chilling. Your body's at rest, but your mind's in motion.
Yeah.
So that's an 8 because you still have to use your mind, but your body's resting and replenishing itself. You're not, out there doing jumping jacks or running a marathon to where it's taxing your body. And then walking is a number 8 as well, simply because you can walk at a slower pace. Like sometimes it'll take me, 30, 32 minutes to walk a mile. Other times it'll take me 22, 24, 26, depending on my stride, where my heart rate level is, how fast I'm trying to do it. Am I out here just leisurely walking, or am I trying to increase my heart rate to burn some calories? There's just how you feel, like what'd you eat that day? Are you doing it on a fasted, stomach, or did you eat an hour ago? Did you eat 4 hours ago? So like there's a lot of ups and downs. There's a lot of variables in walking.
For sure.
But for me, again, it's just clearing my mind out, walking around that lake. I typically walk around Lake Eola because I'm close to there. So, having all those things that stimulate my mind, it's not taxing, but it is, so, but it's more common than anything else.
Yeah.
So,
all right. So that is awesome. And it's some good insight. And I think both of you guys' practices are good practices. So with that in mind now, if we look at the ratings that we had here, right? So 6.7 for Omar's, 8, and then 8.9, and then Evangelos was 9.88. So these are pretty dang good for the most part. So the last piece of this is going to be feel free to take a moment and consider for each one of your methods of rest, what can you do to get it to be a 10? All types of imperfections removed. What would the 10 version of that thing look like for you?
So for me, like the first one being listening to the podcast is for me to max, like I said, rest isn't so much something that I'm focused on right now. It's just like more of go.
Mm-hmm.
So I take the rest time to grow. In order for that to be a 10, I need to maximize all the information that I'm gathering from that podcast and not just listening it to listen to it, if that makes sense.
So maybe listening and processing and putting into action.
Right.
As
Instead
opposed
of it
to
being
just
background noise.
Okay.
So like I do listen to podcasts a lot while I'm doing the walk.
Mm-hmm.
So there's times, I mean, they got the TVs on. So I'll kind of like look and I'm like probably hitting the rewind, like, oh shit, I probably missed something. So I need to be able to, I mean, there's times I tried it where I tried closing my eyes on the treadmill. I'm like, no, because you never know.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, I'm not trying to be that guy, you know, end up on social media world star. But
just a quick question when it comes to like the being able to like more actively listen and then like do something with it. Would that not then step back into the realm of work?
It would. And that's the thing. Like, I don't know what rest is. That's the thing I'm still working on. I still don't know what rest is. Rest for me is closing my eyes and taking a nap. If I really want to fall asleep, I'll sit down or lay down and put a book in my hand. I'll tell you, I'll knock out in a minute. As soon, like, it takes me a lot to just like read. Like, and I like if I'm reading with a purpose, then like I'll have to have high frequency music or something. But it's for me, just my body can get so relaxed, probably because I'm just go. And that's why I'm just like out. So that's why I listen to podcasts instead. I'm like watching action going. But at least it's something that's going in my mind is something that's going to bring me breath, you know?
Right.
So yeah, I mean, I'm still working on the rest part.
Makes sense. And then for your part of your active rest, as far as you're exercising lightly, how could you bring that one up to a 10 for yourself?
Be more consistent with it. Because I do walk every day. And then, I mean, right now I haven't missed, which is great. But there are, like, I want to make sure, and I'm sure Evangelos the same way, that you got to get your steps in every day. Your body has to be in motion some way, shape, or form. And an active rest day is still considered rest because you're not putting your body under that constant pressure, right? So for me, for it to be a 10, I just had to make sure I'm doing it every off day, to not be like, oh, you know, this is off day, let me just chill and not go. Let me not do it today.
Okay.
It's just consistency. Makes
sense. And then the last one, prayer for bringing it to a 10.
Yeah, it's just to be more intentional. To just, I mean, prayer is something to work on. Like, you can't just, I mean, when you grew up as kids, like, say this prayer, say that prayer. But then when you're being more intentional with it, I feel like now you're having more of a conversation with God. So that's a constant growth aspect. And that's just going to be something that's continuous. That will never be a 10.
Okay.
Never be a 10.
Gotcha. It'll just always be something that you're constantly moving. What do they call it? Like the law of like infinitesimally more steps approaching something.
Right.
Where you get to be only one measure away, and now it's you take a half step, then you take a quarter, then you take a third, then you take and you just never get there.
Never get there, but you're moving in the right direction. As long as you're moving in the right direction, because like I said, there's no end game in that, you know.
Awesome. And then how about for you, Evangelos?
Before I get into mine, I want to touch on moving closer and closer to getting to where you want to be with prayer. So you heard the story of Matthew McConaughey where he wants to be his own hero in 10 years, that he never actually reaches that point. Some guy asked him, he's like, hey, who's your hero? He's like, I don't know. Let me think about it. So he came back in 2 weeks. He's like, you know, my hero is me in 10 years. So 10 years passed by. And that same guy found him. He's like, so are you here? He's like, no, not even close. Because you're always constantly trying to push the bar to get better every single day. So you're never going to reach that, what Omar was talking about, but you get closer and closer every single day, you know? So like, and that's what keeps you striving to be a better person, you know, in any realm of your life. You got to continuously like wake up and do the things every single day, consistently, constantly, do it with grace, you know, and actually be it and feel it, you know? So just trying to move that bar towards your better self.
For sure. For sure.
So for me, you know, for yoga, I could do it more often, you know, because like there's a lot of things that I can do right now. I'm not old. I'm 36, but you know, compared to my 20,
not the,
but there's things that I can do now that I couldn't do in my 20s because I didn't do yoga. You know, like just the elasticity of the muscles, like bending, like joints and everything like that. It's just, yoga is almost more important than lifting weights, keeping your body limber, you know. And I say that I used to be a personal trainer. Like I love lifting weights, but there's certain points in time where you're like, damn, my muscles hurt, or I'm sore, or my joints hurt, or I need to recover, or my body's just like literally not responding to all the weights. You know, you get to a point where you go so hard, you're like, bro, I need a rest day. Like, and that's hard. But like yoga for me.
So I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're bringing up something, and it's such an interesting point. And because I met someone, and he said something that surprised me. He told me that for every minute that he spends working out, he'll spend twice as much time stretching. And I thought it was like,
man, I don't stretch.
Right?
When he was talking about that, that's one thing I am.
We're both sitting here like, ooh.
Can you imagine I did more shorts on my life? I never
stretched. How to spell stretch, bro?
Man, you know how to spell stretch? L-I-F-T.
Oh, sorry. Oh, wait, that's wrong. But I think you make a really good point, because even when you look at something like, for example, the ab muscles, every person that I've met that has abs, they're like, yeah, man, the most constant thing that probably was the biggest contributor is anytime I do like a heavy ab day, I stretch it out. And in that stretching, that allows for that repair and that growth better, because otherwise it's so tight that like it's just sitting there being tight.
It shortens. The muscle shortens.
Yeah.
You know, when you lift weights, the muscle shortens, they get bulkier, but when you stretch, they lengthen out and get more limber. You need both, bro. It's like a yin and yang of working out. A lot of people don't see it like that way.
Balance.
So yeah.
I really appreciated that. So I wanted to like, you know, bring up something and whatnot.
No, absolutely. That's what we do these things for, man.
And you said, how was it that you could get it to be a 10? Was it again?
Do it more often.
More often. Okay.
Yeah, do it more often, be more consistent at it, just to be more in tune with my body and my mind. Like it's a mind, body, and soul thing for me. You know, like it's just when I put all those things together, like after yoga, like the first 30 minutes, you know, I have my Apple Watch on. I'm like, how much longer? You know what I'm saying? But then like 30 to 40 minutes, 45 minutes, I'm like, I don't even care about the time no more. Like this feels good. And then the last 15 minutes, I'm like, damn, it's already over. You know what I'm saying? Like the more you do it, the more you want to do it and get better at it. So because I want to learn more about how my body responds to everything that's going on mentally, emotionally inside of myself, like when I'm doing this, and like I try and bring that out in the world. So when that hour is up, I want to be able to take that out into the world and keep using it. You know what I mean? So I can, you know, let it spew over into every other aspect of my life.
I love that, man. So I love that. That's a word right there.
For sure. So for reading, just take notes, man. You know, like we read a lot. Sometimes I read a book, I read a page or 2 pages. I'm like, what did I just read? You know, like I take it in, but I can't regurgitate it sometimes and explain it to people. So like actively taking notes as you read. And I got this from Myron Golden. Shout out to Myron. So when you read something, it's not necessarily what you read, but it's how your mind perceives what you read and what thoughts you're thinking as you read.
So this seems like it very much kind of goes in a similar spirit as with Omar and his podcast listening, where the consumption of the content is there, but the way to add value to it would be, and maybe for you, Omar, it's not even like putting it into action right then and there, but it's like noting it down in some type of way to where in the time where it's time to come back to work, it's like, all right, back to work time to really get time to implement this thing that I just studied or I just heard about, learned about. And so that's what you're saying, notes now on what you read.
I think just like that, it's easy for it to go in one ear, one out the other, or you read it and it's easy to just disappear, but you got to really feel it. For it to stick.
Similar, going back even more so to the like mind-body connection, like you take it into your mind, but like how can you get it to resonate with like your innermost?
I gotta comprehend it.
Man.
And again, it's not what you read, it's how you feel. It's how what you're reading makes you feel. Like what thoughts come into your mind as you're reading that, and then where does it go from there? Where does it branch off from there? Like, you know, you could read something and be like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. But then what triggered you to have that thought? You know? So like you gotta like direct it towards what you're reading and, you know, give it more direct meaning.
And so this is a similar, as you're talking, what comes to mind is like what you do basically when you do like a Bible study. When you do like a Bible study, you don't just read it just to say, oh, I read this chapter. The whole point is that you read that thing and then you're supposed to like respond to it. You're supposed to have some type of, okay, what did I just read about? Let me set time apart. Let me really process this thing and let me now have a response time where I put down what I just consumed and what effect that had on me. And then how can I implement this thing in some manner to make a true change in the essence of who I am?
That's good.
Yeah, you got to analyze what actually you're reading, and then, like you said, what actions you want to take afterwards, and then how does it affect you personally, internally, but then how are you going to express it externally,
100%
in your life? You know, you gotta apply it to your life as well.
That's great, man. I think between the two of both of what y'all had there, like there's so much happening here right now. And then your final one was walking. How could you bring that to its end?
Be less aware of distractions. Obviously, like I said, you got to have one ear to the world. You know what I mean? But at the same time, you know, I could probably be more in tune with my breath cycle, you know, with my breathing and just focusing. And, you know, when you move your legs, when you move any part of your body, there's not just your quad activating or your hamstring. It's like your calf muscle, your toes, your ankles, you know, everything is moving like a machine, like a well-oiled machine. So like sometimes I'll step and like my knee hurts, like the inside of my knee or the outside of my knee or the back of my knee. I'm like, how can I be more in tune with walking correctly? You know, everybody thinks walking is just walking. Well, we all know like there's inverted walkers, extroverted walkers. I don't know.
You got the bow-legged, flat-footed.
People that walk outward, you know, because their hips are tight or whatever. So like just be more aware of how my body is simply by walking. You know what I mean? And do it more often. Obviously, get your 10,000 steps in at least. And, you know, it depends on what time of day you do it. You know, if you're in the scalding heat out there, you're going to die. You're going to be more worried about dehydrating or passing out, you know, to where if you do it 7, 8 o'clock at night, you can focus on these things. So time of day has a big effect on it too. But mostly just being more aware, man. Always be aware. Like when I go anywhere, whether it's the gym, whether it's the grocery store, like I'm always aware of my surroundings. You never know. There's crazy people out there.
Yeah.
You know, you just don't know what you don't know about people. Like somebody could be having a bad day. And this is why we have, you know, grocery stores that get shot up, you know, and school shootings and bombs and whatever. And, you know, not to get off subject and whatnot, but like be aware. To close that out, be quite honest with you.
Awesome. You guys, I want to thank y'all so much for engaging in really this tantalizing, like, sometimes I have that thing going too long, but for engaging in this tantalizing, like, deep amount of inward reflection and like the expression of how these things are, how could you go better with it? And I think that whether it's like someone like yourself, Omar, who's just like, man, I got to be doing something, like I got to figure out a way to do it, or it's someone like yourself, Evangelos, who's like, man, I want to be able to mentally assess every physical phenomena that's going on with my body, and being able to see these different approaches to rest and see like even what are some of the differences of them and the approaches and what could be improved, and then what are some of the similarities which we kind of found as far as like the active participation in whatever that content is that we're doing in the resting, and then like doing something with it going forward. So at this time we are about at that point. So I want to move into some of our closing segments. Starting at the end of the table, what are, and you guys, it's up to you if you want to do a combined 3 things or separate 3 things that you want the audience to take away on this Saturday, being able to think about, meditate on, pray about, and at the end of the day, hopefully apply into their lives.
Yeah, I can go first. So I would say, I know first part we went over is iron sharpens iron. So it's going to be pivotal, whatever part in life you are, no matter how high you are and wherever aspect of life, whether it be in business, whatever, find yourself a mentor, find yourself a group of people that are in the same mindset as you, because you're going to start resenting yourself if you're going to be hanging out with the same people. You know, so it's very important. If you want to get better, find other people that are going to get you better, or find the group that you want to be like. Okay. And then learn from them, be humble, ask questions, and process everything that they're saying. Another thing on the rest part is, you know, or I know we're going over 3 things. So in between that, for yourself, stay active. You know, you got to keep your mind, body strong. So constantly continue education, get out there, get active. You don't have to go crazy working out 7 days a week, but at least do, 3-4 times a week. And then on the rest side, take your time to really, I wrote down a few things here to put yourself, Evangelos mentioned how walking at a certain time, like, oh, you're going to be thinking about, let me just get home, let me just get over it. I think it's so important to put yourself in a proper environment to get these things done. Whether it be like, say for me, when I read, I know that I can't lay down when I read. I got to be sitting up. I got to have like high frequency music so I can stay engaged. I want to relax so bad and lean back, but I know I'll clock out immediately. So it's a matter of, if you want to be as optimal as possible in that certain aspect, you can make sure you put yourself in that environment that you're going to do so. So those are 3 things.
Hey, thank you, my man. Appreciate that. And then for yourself, Evangelos.
So for me, like we talked about iron sharpening iron, always push your boundaries. Never, ever, ever discount yourself, because you don't know what you can't do. Quick story, I moved 500 miles away. I was like, what are you doing, Evan? Like, what are you doing? Like, I was pushing that boundary. I had to get to the next level, like I found Omar, I found you, expanding your network, growing, never cease to grow. No matter how much you know, how much you think you know, somebody always knows more than you. So for that one, don't ever give up, don't ever discount yourself, and keep pushing forward. For the rest, mind and body, you want to be in tune with yourself, because obviously you're pushing those boundaries, but you got to know your limits. So you want to reach that limit, have a little bit of rest, and then push forward a little bit more, to push those boundaries. And then the last thing, what was it, like replenishing? What do we do to replenish ourselves? Like, again, be in tune with your body, and your mind. Moreover, like, your mind is the strongest or the weakest thing that you have in this world. So what you feed it depends where you want to go in life. I'm a loser. I'm fat. I'm out of shape. I'm, all these negative things, or I'm a winner. I look good as hell. I feel good. I help people. I inspire people. Like what your self-talk is going to depict on the person that you are. So always do the positive self-talk, no matter what. People make fun of you, write them off, dude. There's so many successful people in this world. Somebody always has something bad to say about them just because they don't like them. Like, you can be you. I don't like you just because of your skin color, or, not to bring race or anything. You're like, oh, you're short, or your hair's messed up, or like, why do you walk that way? Who gives a shit, bro? Write them off. Stick to your true self and, do you, bro.
Word. Gentlemen, phenomenal there. I mean, this is going to definitely be one that I come back and look at, because there were just some parts in here where, like, as we're engaging and I'm connecting like different pieces of what you guys say, I'm like, dang, that's a good piece right there. I need to implement that little thing right there. So for you guys, and this one can be a combined, what are 3 of any questions that you guys might have for me that I can answer completely honestly? And I will do so.
Yeah, so I understand you're going to be taking some parts from this to implement. So what's your plan for that? How are you going to execute that? How soon are you looking to do it? When are we leveling up?
Ooh, the call out. Okay, let's go. I'm with it. So that is a good question. I have to filter through the different pieces that I've had. I've had, 30 shows in the past number of days, and some of them I can't remember just because like the go constant of it. And so I need to get better at like, man, this thing happened at this point, and this is where I got to go back, because this is something that is hugely valuable for the audience and hugely valuable for me personally. So I mean, I need to make it a point to do that right here, right now. So my aim is going to be to level up in those pieces within the next 2 to 3-ish weeks, because after this challenge finishes, I'll have one more week of just a regular week, not 30 days challenge. And then I'm going to have a family vacation from the 6th through the 15th. And so that'll be a week and a half of rest time, family time, where I can actually take some action on these things. I can figure out how to use new equipment that I'll be adding. So I'm excited about that.
Good. Yeah, that's good.
Awesome. I got
Appreciate
a
that question.
for you. What's the best takeaway from our conversation here today?
Man, I would say the best takeaway is so I think Omar's awareness of as far as with the podcast listening, I think that resonated with me, because it's an acknowledgement of like, this is something that like I don't know how to literally just rest. And sometimes I have to think to myself like, when I am doing things that I consider rest. So, for example, for me, a part of rest is like maybe putting on a video and having that on while I'm like working on something or cooking or whatever, or maybe even sitting down and playing like a little, mobile game or whatnot. And I think it made me raise the question of, because I think a lot of people would look at listening to podcasts as resting, and they might say, oh, it's like a 9, but you gave it a 6, 7. That's like a good bit of honesty. So it made me say, am I actually resting with these games or with these videos, or am I distracting, or am I over crediting how much rest I'm actually getting with them? So that hit me. And then like, I think your emphasis on the mind body connection and like how you want to feel every individual, like, oh, this hurt, like what's going on with my walking, and like your desire to stretch more. I mean, this is the second time now that someone is emphasizing the importance of stretching. And I'm just like, yeah, I've been slacking on that. Truth be told, I've been slacking on it. And then the third thing that I probably took away is like both of y'all's desire to take whatever you're intaking and really allow it to process and be something that affects your real life. In this world of constant information intake and whatnot, I think people have, and it's such an easy thing to constantly watch something. People might be on watching. We've got 5 people watching the podcast right now. We've got people that watch the news, do social media. And it's like, if you're intaking something that you cannot process and make relevant to your life, then what is the point of that thing? Like, nothing is ever having you stand still. You're either always growing or moving forward closer towards what you want to be, or you're falling away from it. And so really allowing, if it is something that I'm intaking that's good for me, I should be doing things that match up to this is growing me mindset. Like, and that would be doing something like taking notes on it, marking out different timestamps of when this happens. So these are things that I need to be intentional about and start to have these things set up so I can capture them more readily. So yeah, this was a really good episode personally, and it came on a Saturday morning. That's crazy. I was not expecting
On
it.
a rest day.
Yes, sir. And shout out to our man Dwight. He is sort of like the pastoral deacon, godfather that would have been with this group. He's resting on this day himself. So it's funny we talk about rest. So shout out to him practicing what we're out here preaching right now. And I'm just glad to have everyone that was willing to come on and watch this. Hopefully you guys are able to celebrate and honor your rest. As we come to the last segment here, you guys know it. It's something I love, and it's a mandatory anytime someone is on the show. What is something that you guys would either like to confess now, something that you've been struggling with, or something that you would like to give a praise to God about, or acknowledge him to the audience about, that I and the audience watching can come around and pray about for you guys?
I'll take this one. It's super simple. Waking up every day is a blessing. And, if you can wake up, get yourself out of bed by yourself, put your own 2 feet on the ground, take that breath of air. Everything else in life, you can figure it out. That in itself is a blessing. Like, many people, there's thousands of people that went to sleep last night that didn't wake up today. Be blessed and be grateful. You're one of those people that actually did wake up. So I praise God for that. Like, it's so simple, but it's so profound. Like, we take life for granted sometimes because, we make plans weeks, months, years in advance. How you're going to wake up that many days away?
Yeah.
Like,
how much are you leaving on the table in this plan?
Right. Is that like a rhetorical question?
Yeah.
Right. You know what I mean? Like, I was kind of confused. So, like, knock on wood, we could jump in the car and we'd leave here. Life's over. We might live to be 100 years old. We don't know that. But, the blessing for me is waking up every day, being healthy, having a strong mind, and having the desire to go get it. I pray a lot too. I don't really touch on prayer, but like, I pray every morning, every night. I pray for, in the morning, I pray for my safe return at night. And at night, I thank God for bringing me home and allow me to live the life that I lived, the day that I lived. And then I ask him to wake me up in the morning again. So I know he's listening, because he ain't done with me. So, because I'm here talking right now, so life goes on. Enjoy what you have, because you never know when it might be your turn. And when your number's called, there's no stopping it.
Love it, man. Love it.
Yeah, that's great. Right around the same thing. I mean, right now, there's so much that we've been working on for a long time that is finally coming to fruition. And I mean, just had to give praise to him. Like, and the thing is it's crazy how it's happening. It's not one thing that's, oh, we were praying on this, now it's happening. It's like one after the other, after the other, after the other. And this nonstop right now. So we've been on cloud nine for a while now. The conversations that I've been having, the people that we're meeting, that we would have never thought to be having conversations with before. There's something going on that's higher up. There's something going on. I'm just glad that's being blessed with me. But everything we've been praying about is finally coming to fruition. And I just appreciate how life has been giving lately.
Love it. Yeah. Love it. So at this time, audience, hearing both of these gentlemen's prayer requests, like, let's take this time, join around them, and honor them with some prayer here. Dear Lord and Heavenly Father, we thank you so much, Lord, that here on this Saturday of June 29th, that we three were able to be gathered with your blessing and with your full gladness. And we just thank you for being able to have this conversation where we discuss some of the tenets that you give us, whether it's iron sharpening iron or being able to rest just in the same manner as you rested on the seventh day, Lord. We thank you for that. And we want to give a shout again to Dwight as he seeks to honor that rest on the seventh day, God. We thank you for everyone that was able to come along and watch this show as they watched it live occurring. And we pray that this has been a blessing onto them, that they would be able to implement some of these things. And we pray that each of us, as we walk away from this conversation, is able to walk intentionally with implementing whatever it was that we got from this. And we thank you, Lord, for any feelings of conviction that we got to be able to bolster ourselves in your honor and in your glory. We want to lift up, dear Lord, we want to lift up Omar's prayer at this time as he is just so excited about the things that have been going on, God. You've been just blessing him with good conversations, and things have been following up well, and the connections being made have been so good. And now things are building to a culmination. And we just give you a praise, Lord, and a thanks for all the goodness you're doing. We know that Omar is seeking to have a more intentional prayer life with you, God. And so we just pray that he could continue to stoke that flame, and that he would continue to, as he says, get better and better, more intentional with it, and to just be able to continue his relationship and growth with you in mind, God. So we thank you for that. And we also want to thank you with Evangelos in mind, lifting up his prayer for all of us that are able to wake up, have this breath of life, be able to go out and do something, make an impact, make a difference, enjoy the things of this world and the things of the spirit that you have for us to enjoy, God. We thank you for being a God that has blessed us with brotherhood, with friendship, with opportunity, and with a true inside desire to grow and develop, and not just stay stagnant or complacent with the simple things that we have, but to have a desire to grow further and closer to you and to seek the things that you have for us to grasp, Lord. And we just pray that we can continue to have the gratitude of breath that you give us, and being able to wake up each day praying for a good day, a strong day, and then returning home each night and praying for in gladness about the day, and a prayer to wake up as Evangelos does. We thank you, God, and we give you all the thanks and praise. And for everyone in this room and everyone watching, may they have a restful and a joyful weekend. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, this has been fire. What? Can we give it up one time for these fellas right here? Oh, man. So, audience, as we said, this brings our episode to a close here. So thank you for tuning in. This has been probably one of the most filling episodes for me within some of the most past recent episodes. That probably has a lot to do that I actually had two great co-hosts on here with me today instead of just doing a show at 12 o'clock at night. So, but it was a genuinely great episode. Do you guys have any last words before we totally close out this show?
No, I appreciate, you doing this. I hope the Inspired Challenge just keeps growing. Definitely. I mean, I would say connect with us any way that you would like. I mean, you can drop your handle, but the best way for me is Instagram at Shonson Johnson. That's SHONSON Johnson. Would love to connect with you guys. Follow the content, and then same thing for Evangelos.
Yeah, my handle is jacked and insured. I like to think I'm jacked, and then we'll get you insured. So jacked and insured. Again, appreciate you for having us on today. It was an awesome time, man. We spoke a lot of good things, and glad we could help you out, and then the audience members as well. So I hope everything continues to grow, and we'll look forward to the next one.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that, since we last saw each other, you guys have just had things just popping off. Like, that's exciting to hear. Like,
we look completely different.
Literally. Only a few mere months, right? So y'all, enjoy the rest of the weekend. I've been your host, Devontae Colonel, and we'll see you on the next episode of the Inspired Challenge Podcast. Take care, everyone. Peace. And peace out.